talk about the beautiful business of milk today, yeah. I got milk. Let's talk about milk. Oh yeah, baby, let's talk about the beautiful business of milk today.
This episode of Got Milk is sponsored by Shunya Agritech, the folks revolutionizing cattle nutrition with hydroponic green fodder. Visit their website at shunya.live for more details, or download the Shunya app from Play Store or App Store.
Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. And today we're going to be exploring something pretty interesting, I think.
Yeah.
And that is a potential game changer for dairy farmers in India specifically.
Concrete.
Those raising buffaloes.
Interesting. And, and get this, India is the world's largest milk producer.
Really?
And a whopping 50% of that comes from buffaloes.
Wow.
Not cows.
Yeah, that's wild. But feeding all those buffaloes
Right.
can't be easy, especially with the feed scarcity issues India faces.
Yeah.
And that's where our deep dive comes in.
Okay.
We're going to be dissecting a 2024 research article from the International Journal of Advanced Biochemistry Research.
Okay.
They did a field study in Tamil Nadu,
Interesting.
India,
Yeah.
looking at a surprising feed alternative, wet brewer's grain,
You got a WBG?
WBG.
It's exactly what it sounds like. The
Yeah.
leftover grain from brewing beer
Okay.
after the sugar's been extracted. So basically, people see it as waste.
Yeah.
But this research suggests it could be a gold mine of nutrition for dairy buffaloes.
Okay, so we're taking brewery byproduct
Yeah.
and feeding it to buffaloes.
Oh.
Help me understand why this is a good idea.
Well, first off, it's packed with protein, fiber, and energy,
Okay,
all essential for milk production.
makes sense.
The study actually analyzed the exact nutritional content of WBG, and I was pretty impressed.
So it's like turning trash into treasure. I'm all for sustainable solutions.
Right?
But did it actually work?
Well,
Did the buffaloes eat this WBG stuff?
Yeah.
And did it affect their milk?
to test that, they took 60 lactating buffaloes and
Alright.
split them into 3 groups.
Okay,
One group, the control group,
got it.
got a standard diet.
Makes sense.
The other 2 groups got that same diet, but with either 20% or 30%
Okay.
of the total dry matter replaced with the WBG.
Hold on, dry matter.
Yeah.
I'm picturing a pile of dry, dusty grain.
Good catch.
What exactly does that mean?
Dry matter basically refers to everything in the feed except the water content.
Oh,
It's a way to compare the nutritional value of different feeds
I see.
on an equal footing.
Got it.
Yeah.
So 20% or 30% of the nutritional content of their feed was from WBG.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But did it make a difference?
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
The group that received 20% WBDG showed a significant increase in milk yield
Wow.
compared to both the control group and the group that got 30% WBG.
Wait, so more WBG didn't equal more milk?
Yeah, that was the surprising part.
You'd think they'd just keep producing more the more they ate.
Right. It seems like there's a sweet spot when
Yeah.
it comes to WBG inclusion.
Interesting.
Too little, and you might not get the full benefit.
Uh-huh.
Too much, and it might not have any additional effect.
Yeah.
Or even negatively impact milk production.
So it's all about finding that perfect balance.
Exactly.
But what about the quality of the milk?
Right.
Did adding WBG make the milk taste weird or change its fat content?
That was a key concern for the researchers, too.
Yeah.
But the good news is they found no significant differences in the milk's fat, solid, not fat,
Okay.
or total solids percentages between the 3 groups.
So the milk was essentially the same,
Yeah,
just more of it with the 20% WBG group.
right.
Sounds promising for farmers. But milk production isn't everything.
Yeah.
Did it actually make financial sense to use this WBG?
Let's talk money matters. The study calculated the income over feed cost for each group.
Got it.
Basically, this is how much profit the farmer makes
Yeah.
after deducting the cost of the feed.
Okay, so even if the WBG feed was a bit more expensive, if they got way more milk, it could still be worth it.
Exactly.
Yep.
And that's what they found.
Okay.
The 20% WBG group had the highest income over feed cost,
Interesting.
even though the cost per kilogram of dry matter was slightly higher than the control group.
Got it.
The 30% WBG group actually had the highest cost per kilogram,
Wow.
but still saw a significant increase in income over feed cost. Okay.
compared to the control group.
So even though the WBG cost a bit more per unit of nutrition,
Right.
the increased milk production more than made up for it.
Yeah.
That's got to be music to a dairy farmer's ears.
Definitely, especially for small-scale farmers
Yeah.
who often operate on razor-thin margins.
Yeah.
This could be a game changer.
But before we get too carried away,
Yeah.
let's zoom out a bit.
All right.
This is just one study in one part of India.
Right.
What does the broader research landscape say about WBG as feed?
You're right. One study doesn't tell the whole story.
Right.
This research article does mention other studies that have looked at WBG as a feed supplement for cattle.
Uh-huh.
Some have shown similar results with increased milk production,
Interesting.
while others haven't seen much change or even a decrease.
So the jury's still out
Yeah.
on whether this is a guaranteed win.
Right.
It sounds like we need more research to figure out the long-term effects and how well it works in different situations. Exactly. And let's not forget about the practicalities.
Right.
Even if WBG is a miracle feed, getting it from the brewery to the buffalo isn't exactly a walk in the park.
Okay, let's dive into the logistics.
Okay.
What are some of the real-world challenges that farmers would face if they wanted to start using WBG?
Well, first off, think about geography.
Okay.
You need a brewery relatively close to the dairy farms for this to be feasible.
That makes sense.
Shipping tons of wet grain across the country just wouldn't make economic sense.
So location is key.
Yeah.
And even if you have a brewery nearby, what happens if beer production slows down? Could that disrupt the WBG supply for farmers?
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Farmers need a reliable feed source.
Right.
Having a steady supply of WBG would depend on a consistent partnership with a brewery and a well-functioning supply chain.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not as simple as just placing an order for feed bags.
Right.
What about storage? This isn't dry grain we're talking about. How do you keep wet brewer's grain from spoiling?
That's another huge hurdle.
Yeah.
WBG has a high moisture content,
Okay.
which makes it prone to spoilage,
Makes sense.
especially in India's hot climate.
Right.
Imagine a farm smelling like spoiled beer.
Okay.
Not a good situation.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
So what's the solution?
Farmers would need proper storage facilities, think silos or covered bunkers to keep the WBG fresh and safe for their animals.
Okay.
That adds another layer of cost and complexity.
Right. It's an investment, and farmers need to be sure it'll pay off.
Right.
But let's say you've got the storage sorted out.
Okay.
Will the buffaloes even eat this stuff?
Right.
Are they picky eaters?
Some studies suggest that buffaloes might initially hesitate
Really?
because of the texture and smell of WBG,
Interesting.
which is different from their usual feed.
So you can't just suddenly switch their diet.
Right.
What's the best way to introduce this new feed?
Farmers would need to gradually mix WBG into their buffalo's existing feed to help them adjust.
I see.
It's like trying a new food a little bit at a time until you get used to the taste.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so they'll eat it,
Uh-huh.
but is WBG enough on its own?
Right.
Does it provide all the nutrients buffaloes need for top-notch milk production?
That's where things get nuanced.
Okay.
While WBG is a nutritional powerhouse,
Uh-huh.
it likely can't be the only thing on the menu.
Okay.
Farmers would need to carefully balance it with other feed sources
I see.
to ensure their buffaloes get a well-rounded diet.
So it's not a magic bullet.
Right.
You still need a carefully crafted feeding program.
Yeah.
Just with WBG as a key ingredient.
Exactly.
Wouldn't it be easier if farmers could just buy a ready-made WBG feed mix?
Uh-huh.
That would take care of the storage and balancing issues,
You're
right?
thinking like an entrepreneur. That's actually a really interesting idea. Imagine a company that sources WBG from breweries, processes it into a shelf-stable feed mix, and delivers it directly to farms.
Interesting.
That could be a game changer for adoption.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
It removes so many of the hurdles we've discussed.
Right.
You can even tailor the mix for different buffalo breeds or production stages.
Exactly. It turns a potential logistical nightmare
Yeah.
into a convenient, ready-to-use solution.
Right.
It would require some upfront investment, but the potential benefits for both farmers and the environment could be enormous.
It sounds like we're moving from a DIY approach to a more professionalized system.
Yeah.
Do you think this kind of WBG as a service model could be the key to making it work on a larger scale?
It certainly has the potential to address many of the challenges we've discussed.
Okay.
But there's still a lot to consider.
Like what?
What are the economic implications?
Yeah.
How would it impact the existing feed market? And most importantly, what do farmers think about it?
Those are crucial questions.
Yeah.
We need to look beyond the science and logistics
Uh-huh.
and consider the human element.
Right.
What are the farmers' perspectives?
Yeah.
Do they see WBG as a viable option?
Right.
What are their concerns?
And from a bigger picture perspective,
Yeah.
what does this all mean for the future of dairy farming in India?
Interesting.
Could a shift towards WBG truly transform the industry?
Yeah.
And what are the potential ripple effects?
So many fascinating questions to explore.
Yeah.
Let's unpack the broader implications of this research
Right.
in the final part of our deep dive. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been talking about WBG, wet brewer's grain,
Right.
as a potential game changer
Yeah.
for dairy farmers in India.
Huge potential.
And we've talked about the research, the benefits, but now I kind of want to talk about the challenges.
Okay, sure.
Because, nothing's ever...
It's not a silver bullet.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a silver bullet. What are some of those challenges that we need to think about?
Well, one of the things we were talking about before the break was that, this is just one study in one part of India.
Right.
And this research article does mention other studies that have looked at WBG as a feed supplement for cattle.
Got it.
And some of them have shown similar results
Okay.
with increased milk production,
Interesting.
while others haven't seen much change or even a decrease.
So it really depends on the context.
It really does, it seems like.
Okay.
Yeah. And, we need more research to figure out the long-term effects
Of course.
and how well it works in different situations.
Right. And thinking about different situations. So we're thinking about
the logistics.
the logistics. Like, how do you even
Right.
get this stuff to the farms?
Exactly. And let's not forget about those practicalities.
Right.
Even if WBG is this amazing miracle feed,
Yeah.
getting it from the brewery to the buffalo isn't exactly, a walk in the park.
No, it's not.
Right.
They're right next door.
Right, exactly.
So what are some of the real world challenges?
Okay, well, first off, think about geography.
Okay.
You need a brewery that's relatively close to the dairy farms
Makes sense.
for this to be feasible.
Right.
Shipping tons of wet grain across the country
Yeah.
just wouldn't make economic sense.
That's a good point. And that's something I didn't even consider, is that this isn't dry grain.
It's wet. It's heavy.
It's wet, it's heavy.
Yeah.
It's probably going to spoil.
Exactly. And that's another huge hurdle.
Oh, gosh.
WBG has a high moisture content,
Okay.
which makes it prone to spoilage,
Yeah.
especially in India's hot climate.
Right.
Imagine a farm smelling like spoiled beer.
Oh, yuck.
Not a good situation.
Definitely not. So what can you do?
Well, farmers would need proper storage facilities.
Okay.
I think like silos or covered bunkers
I see.
to keep that WBG fresh. Okay.
And safe for their animals.
That makes sense, but that adds another
Yes.
layer of cost.
It adds another layer of cost and complexity for sure.
Right. And, farmers have to make sure that this is all worth it.
Exactly.
In the end.
It's an investment.
So let's say you've got a brewery that's nearby.
Okay.
You've got the storage all sorted out.
Mm-hmm.
Will the buffaloes even eat this stuff?
Right.
Are they picky eaters?
Some studies suggest that buffaloes might initially hesitate
Really?
because of the texture and smell
Interesting.
of WBG,
Okay.
which is different from their usual feed.
So you can't just switch it?
Suddenly switch their diet.
No, you got to do it gradually.
How would you even go about doing that?
Well, farmers would need to gradually mix that WBG into their buffalo's existing feed
Okay.
to help them adjust.
I see.
It's like trying a new food
All right.
a little bit at a time until you get used to the taste.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so they'll eat it.
Yeah.
But is WBG enough on its own?
That's a good question.
Can it?
That's where things get nuanced.
Okay.
While WBG is a nutritional powerhouse,
Uh-huh.
it likely can't be the only thing on the menu.
Okay.
Farmers would need to carefully balance it with other feed sources to ensure their buffaloes get a well-rounded diet.
So it's not a magic bullet.
Right, it's not a silver bullet.
You still need that carefully crafted feeding program.
You do.
Just with WBG as a kind of a key ingredient.
It's a key ingredient, exactly.
But wouldn't it be easier
Oh, yeah.
if farmers could just buy a ready-made WBG feed mix?
Right.
that would take care of all this storage and balancing?
You're thinking like an entrepreneur.
Well,
Well, that's actually a really interesting idea.
I'm just thinking practically.
Yeah.
Like, what would make this easy for a farmer?
Imagine a company that sources WBG from breweries,
Okay.
processes it into a shelf-stable feed mix, and delivers it directly to farms.
That's a great idea.
That could be a game changer for adoption.
I think that's brilliant
It's a cool idea.
because it removes so many of these hurdles
It does.
that we've talked about.
It does.
You know, you could even tailor that mix for different buffalo breeds
Exactly. You could tailor
or
it
production stages.
for different breeds, different production stages.
Right.
It turns that potential logistical nightmare
Yeah,
into a convenient, ready-to-use solution.
exactly.
It would require some upfront investment, of course,
Right.
but the potential benefits for both farmers and the environment could be enormous.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It sounds like we're moving away from this kind of DIY approach
Right.
to a more professionalized system.
Yeah.
Do you think this kind of WBG as a service model
I love that.
could be the key
Yeah.
to making it work on a larger scale?
You know, it certainly has the potential to address many of the challenges we've discussed,
Oy.
but there's still a lot to consider.
Such as?
What are the economic implications?
Yeah.
How would it impact the existing feed market?
Right.
And most importantly, what do farmers think about it?
Those are really crucial questions.
They are.
You know, we need to look beyond the science, the logistics, and consider that human element.
Exactly.
What are the farmers' perspectives?
Right. What are their concerns?
Yeah. Do they see WBG as a viable option?
And even from a bigger picture perspective,
Yeah.
what does this all mean for the future of dairy farming in India?
That's interesting.
Could a shift towards WBG truly transform the industry?
Yeah.
What are the potential ripple effects?
So many fascinating questions to explore.
I know, right?
Let's unpack the broader implications of this research
Okay.
in the final part of our deep dive.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've spent the last two parts really digging into the science and the logistics.
Nitty-gritty
Yeah, the nitty-gritty.
of using wet brewers' grain.
But the WBG as feed for dairy buffaloes in India.
Right. And we've seen those potential benefits like,
Yeah, increased milk production.
higher profits for the farmers.
More sustainable use of resources.
But also some of the hurdles like the storage, the transportation, and making sure that the buffaloes actually like
Yeah, do they like it?
their new food.
Will they eat it?
Right, exactly. But now I kind of want to zoom out
Okay,
and look at the bigger picture.
the big picture.
You know, if this WBG thing really takes off
Yeah.
in India, what could it mean for the future of dairy farming?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's pretty exciting to think about.
I think so too.
You know, first off, the environmental impact could be huge.
In what way?
We're talking about taking a waste product from the brewing industry and turning it into a valuable resource.
So less waste means less pollution,
Exactly.
which is good for everybody,
Good for everybody. Good for the environment.
especially in India.
Yeah, absolutely. Improperly managing that brewery waste can lead to all sorts of problems.
Yeah.
Environmental problems.
Water quality, soil health.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So by using this WBG as feed,
Yeah.
we're diverting that waste
Oh.
and potentially reducing the strain on landfills
Right.
and the risk of pollution.
It's like one person's trash is another person's treasure.
Exactly.
And in this case, it's the buffalo's treasure.
The buffaloes love it.
But it's not just about the planet.
Right.
It could also be a game changer for the people involved in dairy farming,
For sure.
especially in India.
Yeah, India has this huge network of small-scale dairy farmers.
Right.
And many of them are struggling to make ends meet.
Yeah.
WBG could be a lifeline for them.
Because it's a more affordable option,
More affordable.
potentially boosting their profits.
Boosting profits, making their businesses more sustainable.
Yeah. And when those farmers thrive,
Right.
it ripples outwards.
It does.
You know, it boosts the local economy,
Creates jobs.
creates jobs.
Revitalizes entire communities.
It's about more than just milk.
It is.
It's about livelihoods.
Livelihoods, economic growth,
Yeah.
building a more resilient food system.
And speaking of food,
Yes.
we can't forget about the growing demand
Right. The growing demand for dairy.
for dairy products in India.
As the population increases, so does the need for a stable and sustainable supply of milk.
Exactly. And WBG could play a crucial role.
It could.
In meeting that demand.
Absolutely.
By increasing milk production.
Increasing production, making dairy farming more efficient.
It's like solving a puzzle.
It is.
Where each piece,
yeah,
sustainability, economics, food security,
yeah,
all fit together.
Yeah, all come together.
To create a brighter future.
I love that analogy.
But we also need to be realistic.
We do.
You know, even with all this potential, there are bound to be challenges.
There are.
And unintended consequences.
Yeah, what are some of the potential downsides?
Let's play devil's advocate here.
Okay.
What are some of the potential downsides?
Well, one concern is the impact on the market.
Okay.
For traditional feed crops.
Interesting.
So if farmers switch to WBG,
yeah,
what happens to the farmers growing soybeans or corn for animal feed?
Right. Are they out of business?
Could it disrupt their livelihoods?
We need to make sure that this transition doesn't create winners and losers.
Right.
But really benefits that entire agricultural system.
A whole system.
Yeah.
And another thing to consider is the quality and safety of the WBG.
Right, because it's coming from all these different breweries.
Exactly. How can we guarantee that consistency and ensure that it meets certain standards?
Yeah. We wouldn't want any surprises that could affect the health of the animals.
Exactly.
Or the quality of the milk.
Or the consumer.
Yeah, some kind of regulation.
Right, some sort of...
A certification system seems essential.
Definitely. Consumers need to have confidence in the safety and quality of their dairy products.
This deep dive has been so thought-provoking. We started with a research article about a potential feed alternative.
Right.
And it's opened up this whole world of possibilities.
A whole world.
It's a reminder that innovation can come from the most unexpected places.
It can.
And that even something as simple as brewer's grain can hold the key to a more sustainable and equitable future.
I love that.
But it's also a reminder that we need to consider that bigger picture.
Absolutely.
Weighing both the benefits and the potential challenges of any new approach. And the story isn't over.
It's not.
This research is just the beginning.
It's the beginning of the conversation.
It sparked a conversation. It's raised awareness.
It has.
And it's opened up all these exciting avenues for further exploration.
Further research.
So to our listeners,
we
encourage you to stay curious.
Stay curious.
Stay engaged.
Stay engaged.
And keep asking questions.
Keep asking questions.
The future of food is in our hands.
It is.
And it's up to all of us to shape it.
It is.
In a way that benefits both people and the planet.
I think that's a great place to leave it.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope it's left you with some food for thought.
Some food for thought. Until next time.
I got milk. Let's talk about milk.